Welcome back. Well, new polls spelling trouble for Joe Biden, dropping double digits with Democrat voters in just 1 month. As far-left progressives rebel against Biden's handling overseas, could he face a reckoning in 2024 as Israel divides Democrats? Our voter panel joins us now with reaction. We've got Republican voter, former chairman of the GW College Republicans and former president of GW for Israel, Ezra Meyer. We've got Air Force veteran and former Democrat and Republican voter Lydia Dominguez and Democrat voter Jahmiel Jackson. Thank you all for being here this morning. Ezra, let me start with you. I mean, the things happening at GW, the things happening around Hamas and Israel have been front and center, and it's reflected now in polls where there is a big core of the Democrat Party that wishes Joe wouldn't support Israel. How much of an impact does that have, Ezra?
Yeah, well, good morning, Pete. And I think this is kind of a macrocosm that's reflective of what we're seeing on college campuses and what we've been seeing over the past 5 or 10 years. I think now is not the time for Biden to waver in his support for Israel just to pander to the fringe far left to score cheap political points. Look, I'm an American, yet this is deeply personal for me. I have family in Israel. My big sister, who was supposed to start a master's program in Tel Aviv last week, was called to the IDF reserves and sent to southern Israel. I have 2 friends who were at that music festival, and when chaos ensued, they split and went in opposite directions, and one ended up speaking at the funeral of the other one, a funeral of a 24-year-old girl, a funeral that I had to attend on Zoom for my friend. So, and this is not unique to me. Everyone, not just in Israel, but in the worldwide Jewish community, knows someone, if not many people, who was either murdered, taken hostage, or had their life significantly altered forever because of the events of October 7th. Now, look, good on Biden for his support for Israel thus far. Even though I'm a staunch conservative, I think it is imperative that this does not splinter even further into a partisan issue. This is not some trivial political issue that we can just laugh about. These are people's lives on the line.
And Lydia, Joe Biden has shown support for the most part for Israel, yet his poll numbers inside his own party have gone down at the same time, which is pretty indicative of where a lot of Democrats are right now.
Absolutely. I want to give hope to people who have a Democrat or a liberal family member. Don't give up on them. I used to be one of them. I eventually saw the light. The veil came off. It really does mean people have to go through a little bit of a struggle. The economy is awful right now. People are struggling. They're having to get 2 jobs just to survive. It's not okay. People are depressed. They're angry and they're broke. It's not fun anymore. And it's not a cool thing to just keep destroying the economy over and over, just over these political antics.
No doubt.
We need someone who's in America First values and America First economical, values to this country.
And Jahmiel, you're at the University of Chicago, no conservative bastion these days. We even showed some residents in Chicago outraged by the fact that there are new potential encampments of illegals in that city. How do you look, as a Democrat, registered Democrat, how do you look at this current situation and Joe Biden's prospects?
Well, I've seen Joe Biden give this same speech many, many times, where he says that conservatives, especially ultra-mega conservatives, are trying to destroy our democracy. He also says that this isn't your father's GOP. Well, I've seen just the opposite. This is my grandmother's Democrat Party, the same party that sided with the KKK. And I think that's why you can see a drop in his numbers in support for baby boomers, because it's the same copy and paste strategy from decades ago where politicians, specifically Democrats, target people based on their race and even religion. And it's sort of appalling to see Biden not call out anti-Semitism on college campuses, because these are the same far leftists who blame him for supporting a genocide overseas. So it's almost like he's in a up and coming divorce with the far left, but he also needs them to vote for him in 2024 because he relied on them in 2020.
Absolutely. We're out of time, but Jahmiel, I want to thank you for your clarity of thought there. Great stuff. Lydia, for your service to the country. We appreciate you're an Air Force veteran. And Ezra, our thoughts are with your sister. God bless you. That personal connection there. We hope everyone else there is safe and the Israeli Defense Forces are successful. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Pete.
This morning. God bless.